Hi, thanks for joining me today. I've got a great question, kind of a long one from Mario in Texas. Hi, Don. I'm a worship team member at my local Hispanic church in Houston, and I have concerns about the health of the worship of my church. How do I deal with a worship leader that seems to be doing everything wrong, from picking bad English songs that more than half the congregation doesn't understand and does not motivate them to sing? He places worship members into instruments that have no experience playing and very unorganized rehearsals that seem to be only a waste of time. I've spoken to my leader about all of these issues, and he doesn't seem to admit there's a problem. Sometimes I feel I could do better in organizing a team musically due to my professional music studies because I'm passionate about it. Every time I bring up the issues with the pastor, though, all they say is submit to your leader. And that's a good point. We'll talk about that in a minute. How can I submit to a worship leader that is unqualified and that is in charge of a group that is full of problems and doesn't seem to admit it? So, Mario, first of all, I feel for you, brother. It's a tough situation to be in, but I would say, number one, to your leader or any worship leader, be a good song policeman. Don't pick songs in your church, whether it's Hispanic or English, or don't pick a song that people can't sing. One of your jobs as a worship leader is to really be the gatekeeper of these songs. And if you look at your congregation, just watch and see if they're engaging in the music. They're coming in from all walks of life. They don't need a complicated musical genre. They just want to connect with the Lord. I really believe that. Our congregations sincerely want to connect with God through a song of praise. So pick the right songs in the right key. Pay attention to that. That's one of our most important jobs as worship leaders. And as a leader, I'd rather be on stage with one or two people who are somewhat proficient at their instruments than filling up a whole band of people that are not accomplished on their instruments. It just creates chaos and it creates confusion. So find the right people for the right instruments. Put them in the right role. And finally, when it comes to rehearsals, respect everybody's time. When you call a rehearsal, just remember those come into a rehearsal. May take them a half an hour to get to the church. You got a rehearsal for an hour, half an hour to go home. I don't know. Could be 2 or 3 hours out of their lives. And as a leader, you really do need to respect that time. Don't just mess around. Go in there prepared. This is what we're going to rehearse tonight. Start on time and end on time. It will really build the morale of your worship team. And finally, Mario, to your point about what your pastor said, submit to your leaders, that's really a good word. I've been in situations, the very similar situations, but there's something that develops in your spirit when you submit to leadership. Even though your worship leader may not be doing it right, even though you may have questions about how your pastor is doing it, the easy thing to do would be to head to a different church where they really appreciate your gifts. The hard thing to do is stay right where you are and serve, serve, serve. There's something that you can do in your worship team to serve your worship leader. I would bring up these points again in a loving way to say, hey, I noticed the congregation isn't really singing these songs, and could we maybe put it in a better key, or have you thought about this song? Come with a solution. Don't just point out the problems. Mention it to them about rehearsal. That's a valid point. We want to make sure we make the most of our time, but it's got to really come from a spirit of serving. If I was the worship leader, I would be open to anybody in the team coming to me with a loving heart and loving tone to suggest some changes. So I just think that God is preparing you for bigger things. It sounds like you have the training, you have the skills, and now you're in a church for a season where God is testing you just to see if you're really willing to submit, if you're if you're really willing to serve. And I would encourage you to embrace these days, embrace these months when you're there, learn to serve, learn to submit, and just watch what God will do with that in your life in the future. Really good question, Mario. I'll be praying for you that God will make a way for your gifts and your ministry, and most of all, that He would teach you how to serve in this difficult situation. Thanks again for your question, and if you've got a question you want to ask me, go to DonMoen.com/AskDon, and we'll do our best job to answer your question. God bless. Make it a great day.